Afternoon guys, today I'm going to be filming a look using the new Milk Cosmetics Millennial Pink palette. I say it's new, it's been out probably a month now and I just haven't got around to filming with it, so I thought I would do a look with this today. This really is a beautiful palette and the pigment payoff of these eyeshadows is incredible. Not entirely sure how it's going to come out. I'm sure I'm putting a split screen on now, so let's get started. To start with, I'm going to take the Hourglass Vanish Airbrush Concealer, and this comes in around 22 shades. It's a weightless, creamy consistency. The shade I've got is Cedar, and I've also got Sepia because I'm not sure which shade I'm going to be. So this contains microspherical powders that reflect and diffuse the light, so it makes pores and fine lines that much less visible. So the formula for this is long wearing, 16 hours wear. It's supposed to be waterproof, crease proof, sweat proof. So I'm going to give it a go because I am getting married somewhere that's relatively humid and I want to test out some concealers. So I'm going to put it underneath my eyes and any areas that I get red. Within the 22 shades, it also contains some colour correcting shades such as Apricot, which is great for under the eyes. So if you're looking for something that's more of a colour corrector, then you might like this. So I'm just going to use a beauty blender to soften that. So I'm using just a shade that is a little bit lighter. And that's okay because it's going to be through the centre of the face. That really is full coverage. So through the centre of the face, and those areas are being pulled forward. So it's okay to be a shade lighter. That really is full coverage and extremely weightless. Next I'm going in with the Huda Beauty TanTour, which is the contour and bronzer in one. The shade I'm going to use is Light, which is this one here. And this comes in 5 shades and is a cream to powder formulation. Because it's a cream to powder, it becomes less intense very, very quickly. We're applying this underneath our foundation so you can be more liberal with it. So you can see we're kind of sculpting in a bit of a V shape here. So we're going to sink this area. Now normally we would keep it in the hollows of the cheeks, but because this is a slight bronzer as well, you can take it up a little bit higher. You can sculpt it kind of however you want your face shape to be. I have just uploaded an in-depth tutorial on base makeup using this kind of method. I've uploaded 2 recently, so I'll link them on screen for you now. And you guys can go and watch those if you want more of a talk through about this method of applying your highlight and contour underneath your foundation. Next I'm going in with the Airbrush Flawless Foundation by Charlotte Tilbury. I think there's around 44 shades in this foundation. It's full coverage and I have the shade 6 Neutral and 4 Neutral. 4 is a light peachy shade and 6 is more of a golden olive undertone, and I might mix the 2 together. So I have already done a review of this foundation, which is up on the screen now for you, and it smells incredible. I really, really like it. It is super full coverage, but still gives you natural looking skin, gives you kind of poreless, just perfected skin. I'm using the NYX No. 4 Duo Fibre brush. And the key with this particular style of applying your makeup is to apply a very, very light amount. So I've knocked off all of the product onto the back of my hand and I'm only using what's left on the bristles to work this in, because we've already got some products on the skin. We are just going in and softening them with a very light wash, and because this is full coverage, we don't need a lot. With this foundation, I would say, because it is quite expensive, to go in store if there is a concession or a store near you to be tested for a shade match before you spend the money, because it is quite a lot of money. You don't really want to get the shade wrong. This has lots of lovely, lovely ingredients in it. And I'm sure I touched on that in my review of the foundation. That is a pump, just one pump, and I've barely used any because we've already got some concealer on and a little bit of the TanTour across the face. I've just used a tiny amount and really dabbed it off onto this on the back of my hand and used a light wash, and it looks great. So I'm back to using my MAC Shape and Shade Brow Tint, which I'm going to do off camera for you. I do have a tutorial on screen on how to use it. I will link you to the Urban Decay one as well, because that pen is phenomenal. I mean, it's even tinier than this one. You can really create tiny little hairstroke marks that make your brows look like they've been microbladed, so really natural. They just don't do a shade that's neutral enough. If I move out of the way, you can see the Urban Decay, which is the purple one, has a tinier tip, which means you just really can create tiny little hair strokes. They all look a little bit too warm. That's why I'm back to using my MAC one, because the one in taupe is great for my brow hair. So this is the Millennial Pink eyeshadow palette up close, and the first colour I'm taking is called Modern Love. On their website you can see this is referred to as a rosewood hue. It is a matte finish, but it's really easy to work with. It blends absolutely beautifully. You can see it's not at all chalky in its texture. I wouldn't say it was kind of creamy, because sometimes creamy matte eyeshadows are a bit more buttery, but as you can see it's completely opaque. One swipe gives you full on colour and it just blends so easily. You can see I've taken the colour up to the eye socket, and I've also winged it out perpendicular to the highest point of the eye socket. Then I've gone in with a soft fluffy blending brush and just buffed out all the seams so it's a lot softer on the eye. Going back to the eye palette, I'm taking Ruby Spar, which is a metallic finish in a rose wine colour. The reason I'm using my finger to apply this to the mobile lid is because I find that they go on a lot better when you use your finger if it's a metallic finish. So I've layered that to really build it up, and then I'm using my brush just to also take that colour out onto the wing. I'm spraying a small amount of MAC Fix Plus onto my brush, and then I'm dipping that into the colour Mixed Emotions. This is an iridescent rose quartz colour. It's gorgeous and it looks beautiful if you place it on the centre of the eyelid. Because it is slightly lighter, it makes this area look larger. Taking the shade Rosé Brunch on a very small brush, I'm applying this to the inner corner of the eye. This is an iridescent pink, but I do feel like it's got a bit of a sort of champagne peachy tone to it. It's gorgeous. So make sure you take that along the inner corner and also along the tear duct area. Going back to the palette, I'm taking the shade Flamingo Dream, which is a tropical pink in an ultra matte finish, and I'm taking my fluffy duo fibre brush to apply this into the socket area and gently fading that towards the brow bone. You can of course do this at the very beginning when you're creating your transition shade, however I wasn't sure exactly where I was going to go with this look, that's why I'm applying it now. Going back to Modern Love, which is the first shade we applied, I'm taking that underneath those lower eyelashes and making sure we blend that into the outer corner of our top lid. Next we're going into this dark matte grey colour, which is called GF, which stands for Girlfriend, and I'm applying that on a very tiny brush, very close to the root of the eyelashes on the top and bottom eyelid, and just ever so slightly smoking it out on the outer wing. Along my waterline I'm taking this Rimmel Scandalised 24-hour pencil in the shade Grey, and I'm running that along my lower waterline. I like to layer this pencil a couple of times to make sure it gets rid of all those pinky tones, and then I like to blink onto the tip of the pencil to line my upper waterline. For eyelashes I'm applying Lottie number 19 by Huda Beauty, and then I'm just cleaning up the fall down from the metallic shades using my foundation brush. I'm going to warm up my skin using the BareMinerals Endless Summer Bronzer in Faux Tan, and I'm using my favourite brush by ZOEVA for doing this, which is the 132 Luxe Powder Finish brush. So I always start around the hollows of the cheeks because this is slightly cooler, so even though it's a bronzer you can afford to put it into the contours of your cheeks because it's not too warm. There's also another colour, I can't remember what one it is now, and that's a little bit warmer. So if you prefer a warmer bronzer, check that one out. I love this. So I'm in the middle of planning the wedding, as I keep telling you all. I'm not going to tell you too much about it because I am going to vlog it. So many of you asked me to do it, so we'll see how it goes. I don't normally like pink makeup, but this is gorgeous. I love it. For my blush, I'm going to use the Cherry Blossom Babe Nude Sticks Nudies, which you know I absolutely love. This is the glowy one, so Nudies Bloom, and this is in the pink shade. I don't ever wear pink blush. I like to dab my brush straight onto it. You can apply it straight to your cheek, but I find that if you've got more of a full coverage base, it can kind of move your makeup underneath. So I prefer, ooh, it's quite pinky, to stipple it on. I do find with pink it looks better if you pop it on the back half of your cheek rather than right at the front, because otherwise it's a bit clown-like. So just keep pressing it in until it starts to look a bit more like a flush. I'm also going to pop that on the lip. taking a very small amount of the Rose Gold highlighter by Becca. This is the pressed version. Just popping that on the inner corners, just extending that bright colour. And then if you want, you can pop it on the high points of your cheeks. I'm not going to, because the Nudies Bloom has a dewy finish anyway, and I prefer that. Also popping a very tiny amount on the brow bone. How lovely are these eyelashes? They are a bit full on, but I really love them. And that completes today's tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed it. Pink isn't normally my kind of go-to, but I really like this one. I don't know where I'd wear it out. It'd have to be kind of in the summer or maybe springtime if I was going to a wedding. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Don't forget, all the products I've used will be listed and linked in the description bar. Come follow me outside of YouTube on my social handles, which will be on screen for you now. And I will see you next week. Bye!